to them also to react for this, and they wanted to involve his grandson also for this webinar, but unfortunately he is not feeling well and he is put up in US, and it is a midnight now, and we can wish him a speedy recovery, and next time onwards we'll intimate them in advance so that they can. Sorry, madam, for apologize for that, whatever mistake has happened from our side. So we'll take care next time. So
no, it's all right. I'm very, very happy to be here. I only felt that I should know some matter, prepare some matter before talking.
No, he is known to all, madam. He is very well known. Only we want to remember him.
Yes.
He is already residing in everybody's heart.
It is wonderful of IIT to arrange this kind of seminar. It's really wonderful on your part.
And you can see the number
My
of
mother is there. My mother, Mrs. Alladi Prabhakar, she is also watching it. And my sister, Lakshmi Subramaniam, and her husband, Ganesh, he, the retired captain, Navy, he's also there. So we are
nice.
all of us are here.
Thank you, madam. Nice to see you here. And I request every time, whenever we conduct the meeting, in his honor, I do join for the webinar. We'll try to intimate you in advance. So with this brief, I request our IIT Hyderabad chapter chairman, Ganesh Rao, to give his welcome address.
Thank you, Sangamkar sir. Today's webinar speaker, Sri Abhishek Singh Shakya, scientist DRDL, and Professor Alladi Prabhakar's family members, Mrs. Alladi Prabhakar, his daughter, son-in-law, and all the family members, and the webinar participants, senior members like Dr. Rama Rao, Dr. K. Veerabhadra Rao, and many other governing council members regularly who are joining with us from various places in India. So our IIT centers are across India. So most of the GC members and executive committee members and members all are joining our webinar. So almost this is 74th webinar continuously we have been conducting. We are very thankful to all the webinar participants for their support, and also many thanks to all the webinar speakers where they are coming forward for giving their these webinar lectures, which are very useful to all the executive committee, corporate members, students, faculty, and all the whoever is interested in the particular topic. So sometimes non-engineers also joining with the webinars and they are enjoying some of the sessions. So I'm very thankful to them for making these programs very successful. So today we are celebrating 5th IET Memorial Lecture of Professor Alladi Prabhakar sir. So he was associated with the IET since many years. Even I have seen him when I was secretary in the 2012 to 14. He used to come, so he was, though he was very old, he used to come with some person's help. I seen him. He has served Usman University where I am working. So as faculty for more than 20 plus years, I think about 30 years, I think he has worked for Usman University. In addition to that, prior to joining Usman University, he has served some other places also in various institutions. So he's a great personality. Always he was supporting to IET and IET members and IET institution for conducting such type of professional activities. We are very grateful to him. We are remembering on this day Professor Alladi Prabhakar, and we are very thankful to all the family members who are joining with us today when we are celebrating this Professor Alladi Memorial Lecture. And another thing is we are very grateful to today's speaker when we said that we are conducting this webinar in memory of Professor Alladi Prabhakar. So Abhishek Shakya ji is readily agreed and come forward to give his webinar lecture on the topic. He is a scientist in DRDL. He said he will give this topic on smart sensors and applications. Very interesting application for all the engineers, young engineers, and the working engineers, and all these. This is a very interesting topic. And I thank Abhishek sir for coming forward on our request in spite of his busy schedules. Thank you once again, sir. Please, all the speakers also come forward like this and encourage us in conducting these webinars. We are feeling great to say that almost 1 year we have crossed. So this is 74th webinar. So without any break, we have been conducting these webinars. So credit goes to webinars, participants, and the speakers. Thank you all, sir. And we are I would like to announce that our IET is conducting many courses also. In addition to these webinars, our routine professional activities like seminars, short-term courses, workshops, and other things we've been conducting regularly. And tomorrow onwards, there is one course that is on CLAD using NI LabVIEW. It's a certified LabVIEW associated developers certificate. This is a 3-day course from 22nd to 24th. We are planning to conduct this. Already we have intimated to all the colleges, and most of the students are coming forward to, they got registered into this course. It's an online course. So we have not registered, please get that registered. The details you can get it from our IIT Hyderabad Center. So telephone number, other details are mentioned. So please utilize the services provided by the professionals like Abhishek Sakya sir. In spite of their busy schedules, though they have very hectic activities, only with the motto and intention that they want to help the young engineers and the students and also the faculty members. That is why they are coming for. The moment we say IET, no one is hesitating. So that the credit goes to IET. IET's name it is there because it's a service society. Thank you all, sir, once again for joining for this webinar, and all the participants for coming regularly. So on behalf of our executive committee members, I thank everybody for making these programs very successful. Thank you all, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Ganeshwar.
LabVIEW course is 4 weeks course, sir. It is a 1-month course actually. It is a NI certified course. 22nd November to, that is tomorrow onwards, to 22nd December, evening 6 to 8.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
This course is imparted by the NI experts, and it's an excellent course. That is what I can say. At a nominal fee, and the evening time they can attend, not in the daytime also. Thank you, Ganeshwar Garu. Now, with this brief, I also welcome our council member, Dr. K. Sitarambabu, who has joined, and I think little late, but I welcome you, sir. And now, I request our Honorary Secretary, Ludin Namashivai Garu, to give us the brief about the memorial lectures.
So thank you, sir. Once again, welcome all of you for this today's 12th memorial lecture of Professor Alladi Prabhakar Garu, and also it is our 74th webinar in series of our IIT Hyderabad Center since we assumed the charge in July 2020. And this our IIT Hyderabad Center is the second largest center in India, and which is having out of 65 centers and strength around 2,500 plus, and also 1,000 of student members, and also we have 90 plus ISF student forums in IIT Hyderabad region, and recently we awarded best ISF college awards and also best ISF coordinator awards also during our IIT Hyderabad Foundation Day, which is held on 11th October. So it is a very good gathering that day, and we awarded 3 best ISF colleges we already identified, and we are given the awards, and also similarly 3 best ISF coordinators also we made award. And our out of 90 ISF student chapters, so they are actively conducting the various activities. Nearly 50% of ISF forums are very so active, and remaining also they are reviving, because due to pandemic situation, they are not that much program they are not conducting. Anyway, coming to our IIT, and also our IIT Hyderabad Center continuously conducting the various programs, not only this for the sake of the members, and also we are guiding the various projects. At present, 80 students, they are doing mini projects, and around 10 to 20 students, they are doing the main projects. And also we are arranging internships also for the students. And also we are arranging the main projects, and we are having the various guides database, which is from R&D institutions, industries, academic, and all the things we are having the guides. And with this one, we are giving the project guidance for all the students in BE, electronics, computer science, and IT, and other streams, and also diploma internships also. And coming to our, I'm very happy to introduce our brief biodata of Professor Alladi Prabhakar. Professor Alladi Prabhakar was born on 16th March 1927. He had his early education in Madras and obtained a BE degree in electrical engineering with honors from College of Engineering, India, Madras in 1948. After serving as research scholar in High Voltage Department of Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, he joined the Defence Science Service as Junior Scientific Officer at Delhi. He was later assigned to the teaching faculty to the Institute of Armament Technology, Pune, and where he served for 11 years as lecturer and assistant professor. He obtained his master's degree in electrical engineering from the world-renowned Harvard University in 1956. He was deputed by the Ministry of Defense, Government of India, to be the postgraduate diploma in guided missile engineering at the College of Aeronautics, UK in 1960. He joined as Professor Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, Osmania University in 1964 and served in various capacities for 23 years as Chairman of ECE and also Principal, University College of Engineering, Dean Faculty of Engineering, and also is a Fellow of IETE, IE, and also AP Academics of Sciences and member of Computer Society of India and Association of Biomedical Scientists in India. He was awarded the Best Teacher Award by the Government of AP in 1979 and also UGC appointed him as National Lecturer for the year 1984-85. He held in several appointments abroad. Visiting Senior Lecturer and Qualified Institution of Technology, Melbourne, Australia for 3 years. Visiting Professor, University of New Hampshire, USA for 3 years. Visiting Research Scientist, LA University, USA 1978. He was the author of over 40 research papers in journals in India and abroad. He had been Principal, Manipal Institute of Technology for 9 years, 1987 to 1996. And actually, really recently I visited our Manipal University. So really very good infrastructure, and daily I almost remembered him because my daughter also joined in Manipal last year, and really it is a very good institute and also very good infrastructure, and all the facilities are there. And so where he served 9 years as a principal, where he had the spearheaded the introduction of assuming as charge director international programs under MEMG Manipal in February 1996. He retired from the active service in August 1998 and has since then settled down at Hyderabad. He now taking active interest in AP Academic of Sciences, the Rotary Club of Hyderabad, and IET Hyderabad Center and Department of EC Osmania University Hyderabad. So Professor Alladi Prabhakar passed away on 17th February 2015. So once we are instituted actually this Alladi Prabhakar endowment lecture in 2005 itself. The first endowment lecture we are conducted on telemedicine by D. Nageswara Reddy, Director, Asian Institute of Gastroenterology, Hyderabad, and also Dr. Surendra Paul, Distinguished Scientist, Associate Director and Program Director, ISRO Hyderabad, Bangalore. And also during 2006, 15th December, we conducted a lecture on Technology for Common Man by Dr. Krishna Tanuku, Advisor and Mentor, Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. And during 2009, February 27th, Reading the Human Genome and What Have We Learned by Professor D. Balasubramaniam, Director of Research, L.V. Prasad Institute of I Institute, Hyderabad. And during 20th June 2012, E-Governance in India, an assessment by Major General Retired Professor Dr. R.K. Bagga, AVSM Advisor and IIT Hyderabad, Chairman Aventel Limited Hyderabad, and Chairman CSI SIG E-Governance. And during 25th January 2014, Developments in Computer Architecture by Professor R. Govindrajulu, Professor Computer Science, IIIT Hyderabad. And during March 16th, 2015, Environment Degradation due to Electronic Waste Status and Remedies by Dr. N.R. Muniratnam, Director, Center for Materials and Electronic Technology, Hyderabad. And during 18th November 2016, Doppler Weather Radar System and its utility in detecting severe weather phenomena by Sri Y.K. Reddy, Scientist F, and Hyderabad Meteorological Center, Hyderabad. And during 2020, May 23rd, Future Engineers and Conquering Dehumanization Aspects of Technology by Sri Ramachandrudu Tejavat, IAS. And during November 22nd, 2020, A Technical Perspective of India, First Quick Reaction Short-Range Surface-to-Air Missile Trishul by Professor G. Kumar Swami Rao, former Director, DLRL, DRDO, Chief Designer for Electronic Ground Guidance System, Trishul, Chief System Integrator, Akash Weapon. And now we are conducting the in-series 12th Memorial Lecture and by Sri Abhishek Singh Shakya, Scientist C, DRDL Hyderabad, on smart sensors and applications. So thank you so much, sir. Over to our Vice Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Namashivaya Garu. Now, Abhishek Singh Shakya is an upcoming scientist. He is an expert in the instrumentation. He is working in new generation Akash missile, and this is the hectic time they will have now because number of flight trials will be planned. Just rainy season is over, where they will be very busy with their trials. In spite of his tight schedule, he has agreed to deliver this lecture. I am very happy to see him on our webinar this time, and he has assured that next time onwards he will be regularly participating. So with this brief, I request now Sunil Kumar to read his profile. Sunil, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity, sir. Mr. Abhishek Singh Sakia obtained a Bachelor in Engineering in Electronics and Communication Engineering from SGSITS College, Indore, in the year 2002, and MTech in Electronic System from IIT Bombay in the year of 2014. In 2005, he joined as a Scientist B, deputed in Directorate of Instrumentation, where he was assigned the responsibilities of calibration facilities and propulsion instrumentation. At present, he is associated with Akash NG project, heading launcher integration and telemetry group. With this, I welcome Abhishek sir in the Professor A. Prabhakar Rao 5th Memorial Lecture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sunil. So shall we start now?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Are you able to see the screen, sir? Presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir. Please.
Good morning, everyone. I am really thankful to the chairman and the secretary of IIT Hyderabad Center and my senior colleague, Kasangam sir, for giving me this opportunity to deliver a talk on the smart sensor application. These are the outline of my presentation. First, I'm going to discuss about sensor and the conventional instrumentation setup where they are employed. Then conventional sensor drawback, what we face the problem while using this conventional sensors. Then what are the smart sensor and motivating for smart features that for adapting the smart sensor, the limitations and the architecture of smart sensor. Subsequently, I'll cover up the attributes of smart sensor and that standard defined by IEEE 14155 standard for designing any smart sensor. And how the smart sensor imparts accuracy and precision. I have covered up this topic so that I can discuss that what are the practical problems we are facing. And suppose if we use smart sensor, how we can overcome these issues and impart better accuracy than conventional sensor. Well, sensor almost ubiquitous and extensively used in variety of applications. Ranging from environmental conditioning, condition monitoring to industrial automation, from home appliances to medical sciences, agriculture, farming, various domain. So sensor, if you see, sensor plays a
I think some network issue, I think.
As shown in figure 1. Now, if you see the
Abhishek, I think your slides are not coming. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Your slides are not seen.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Is that okay, sir?
Yeah, it's okay now.
Okay. I'm sorry. Shall I start from the back or from here? Shall I continue?
From third slide onwards, you can cut it. Third slide. First, second, we could see.
Okay, sir. Yeah. So outline finally this how a smart sensor imparts accuracy and precision. This I have taken to just give you an overview. Suppose from a practical life, when I was working in instrumentation, what the problem we are facing and how does it affects accuracy if I use a conventional sensor. Then finally, I'll conclude it with the smart sensor application. So sensors are almost ubiquitous and extensively used in a variety of applications, ranging from environmental condition monitoring to industrial automation, or from home appliances to medical science, or from agriculture sector, farming. So if you see overall, sensors plays a very critical and crucial role in industrial automation application, where they are part of integral part of our automation and control system. So as shown in figure 1, the sensors which take the input means your physical parameters like force, pressure, temperature, thrust, deformation, strain, like that, and convert it into a measurable, desirable electrical output. So here you see figure number 2, basically a measurement chain, which comprises of a sensor, then output of a sensor maybe of the order of millivolt or microvolt, depending which sensor we're using. We have to first amplify and filter out the noise. So for that purpose, we use a signal conditioner. And output of the signal conditioner, we give it to ADC, analog to digital converter, for make it digitize that one. Then subsequently, we give to data system for analysis and logging purpose. So conventional instrumentation setup as shown in figure 3. This is I have taken from my general what setup we have used in our proportional system, because this that we have to measure the pressure, temperature, thrust of a rocket motor, which is explosive in nature. So that's why we have to make some separate testbed setup for that one. In that output on the rocket motor will mount the sensors, and the output of those sensors will give it to our junction box first. Then from there we'll tap up to our data system facility, which may be having a distance of 100 meter to 300 meter, depending on that which sort of motor we are using. Then that output will give it to finally our data system. Now here you can see that testbed setup for thermocouples, because the order of output of thermocouples is the order of microvolt. That's why we have to keep the signal conditioner as close as possible to the thermocouples, which will again convert, provide the CSC, conjunction compensation, to my thermocouple and amplify it and bring it up to the order of volts. So that again, I can use one more signal conditioner at my data system facility. But I can filter out the noise and give it to my data system, which basically my data system usually comprises of a ADC, MUX, and my analog data logger. Now, if you see this, when we carry out this exercise, first we have to configure my data system. In that configuration, first I have to select in which module I have to give that respective sensor output. So first I need to select my module, then I have to find my sensitivity, then I have to select my sampling rate, then bandwidth. Those activities have to carry out in my data system. And most of the activity, like setting my bandwidth and sampling rate, and what are the amplification I need, that depends on the application. We have to carry out on my signal conditioner also. So in that way, we have to establish our complete instrumentation setup. So if you use a conventional sensor, we usually face some problems, or we can say the drawback of conventional sensor. In that, it is basically in the first of that series, it is costly and more prone to errors, because conventional measurement system requires more resources for installation. Front-end instrumentation means you have to mount a sensor, you have to check the connectivity, that comes under front-end instrumentation, and maintenance of a measurement chain, which in turn add up to its financial budget and more prone to error. Because at each end, suppose if you see from test bed, I have to connect my sensor. After connecting that, again, I have to set some sampling or bandwidth in my signal conditioner. Again, I have to check it the same thing in my data system. What are the module has been selected, what are the sampling rate I have selected, and engineering conversion sensitive what I have found. It is correct or not. So that's why it takes a more time, means consume more time to set the setup, so that when you deploy complete measurement chain, starting from a front-end instrumentation activity, which involves mounting of a sensor to the test article, interfacing its output to the respective signal conditioner, and finally, configuration of data system setup, all this consumes a lot of time. Apart from that, it requires some more maintenance. To ensure proper functioning of a measurement chain, each module forming the part of a chain requires preventive maintenance. And all the sensors which are going to be used for measurement purpose need to be calibrated first. Then sensitivity of each sensor is fed in a data system. Subsequently, the functional checks of a complete single condition are to be carried out to ensure the usability of complete measurement chain. This seems to be easy. Suppose if my number of channels are 10, 20 like that. But imagine suppose my number of channels are more than some 300, 400. So to establish my complete instrumentation setup for these some 300, above some 300 number of channels, it will take some 3 to 4 days. For example, in our DRDL, we are having one setup for HSCDV, and we are carrying out at that time some number of temperature channels were some 50, pressure channels were some 45. Like that, overall it is coming some altogether 150 to 200. So it will take almost some 2 days to make my complete setup ready. So that's why I'm telling that it will take more time to establish my setup if I use my conventional sensor, and requires more maintenance. Apart from that, electromagnetic interference affects my accuracy of a complete measurement chain, because the output of a sensor when transmitted through cables to the data system suffers transmission loss due to attenuation. Then electromagnetic interference is also encountered due to capacitive and inductive coupling of the cable. Now, this results in decrease of the signal to noise ratio at the data system end, and which in turn affects the accuracy and the precision of my complete measurement system. And because which I have not mentioned over here, that the poor system reliability, as my number of systems are more in my home world measurement setup, suppose it is quite difficult and a bit tedious to locate a fault in a channel. Suppose if any of the module in the measurement setup starts malfunctioning, so apart from that, one cannot ensure that accurate specified function of the individual component in the measurement chain. Suppose some due to loose connection or my sampling data I have not fed properly, or suppose that amplification break, what I have set in my instrumentation amplifier is not correct. So we and check that. Suppose some problem comes, we have to check from test bed to my complete detection facility, through junction box, through single condition, everything. So it will take sometimes 1 to 2 hours to locate the fault. So now, smart sensor. How this problem has been overcome by using a smart sensor. With the growing competition in the market, chasing for better quality and quantity, industries are now compelled to use sensor with ease to use, built-in intelligence features, and at the same time offering reduced maintenance setup cost to the instrumentation system. Now, these demands lead to the deployment of smart sensors, which cater the need of modern instrumentation and automation application. The concept of smart sensor the concept of smart sensor was introduced in the mid of 1980s. So if we say, as shown in the figure 4, that smart sensors will have a sensor, the single condition processor, and a single chip. So a sensor with intelligence and decision-making capability is termed as smart sensor. So a smart sensor is basically comprised of a sensing element or signal conditioning unit, and application processor or microcontroller, which depends what manufacturer use. So this figure number 4 and 5 are sort of logical model basically. And because suppose when this smart sensor has introduced, this concept of smart sensor was introduced in the market, at that time different manufacturers have started manufacturing of their own. So in that case, they were not interoperable. So IEEE has set some standard that is called IEEE 1415 standard, which defines a smart sensor. In that, it says that a smart sensor which is well equipped with a function able to communicate, exchange information, and networking mode, apart from those necessary for generating a scale or correct representation of a measured physical parameter. So as you see in this figure number 5, this is a sensor, single conditioning unit, my ADC, and application algorithm, which will going to acquire my data, store it, and exchange information also. All will be in a single chip. The motivation for adopting a smart sensor offer various advantages that motivates an instrumentation engineer to employ them for various applications. Benefits of employing a smart sensor in my instrumentation measurement chain system are like this. First, it's easy and fast installation. The plug-and-play feature of smart sensor allows easy installation and configuration, as a complete measurement chain, as we have seen over here. Complete measurement chain is encapsulated in a single chip of silicon wafer. It eliminates the need of cables for interfacing between the systems. So that is one of the benefits. And cost saving, they use a common serial bus, so it eliminates the need for separate cables for each sensor, the man required for maintenance and validation of measurement chain is appreciably reduced. As we have seen, I have shown you, this is figure number 3, that conventional instrumentation setup. It's like for pressure transducer, I have to use many number of channels from source, from my test bed to my detection system facility. Suppose in pressure transducer, if you see, if it is having the 6-wire configuration, that some 3 pairs, and 3 pairs for each pressure transducer. And suppose there are 20 PTR there, in that case 20 channels I have to lay down completely from my test bed to detection system facility and other sensors. So in that way, if I use my smart sensor, because it is usually common serial bus, so it eliminates a need to use a separate cable for each sensor. That's what I wanted to say over here. And it's cost saving. In that time, it's cost saving also. It consumes low power because smart sensors are fabricated using nowadays CMOS technology, which works on a low voltage level and consume less power for its operation. As well as a separate power supply for each subsystem of the measurement chain has been eliminated, as they are located on a single chip, same chip. Apart from that, it's offer a high system reliability because system reliability has been greatly improved by employing the smart sensor the measurement system, because this is due to the reduction in my wiring cables and the self-diagnosis ability of a smart sensors, which imparts to its reliability. Then it is more accurate and precise, because signal conditioning and your data conversion, data processing and storage, all the tasks are carried out in a closed vicinity in the same chip. So thus the data is less affected due to the electromagnetic interference, and hence it's preserved my accuracy also. So the attributes of smart sensor, basically, attribute smart sensor, it's having two-way communication, as we have seen in that figure. It should be able to communicate, two-way communication, self-description, self-calibration, self-fault diagnosis feature that they are having, and then self-data processing. So the two-way digital communication, the smart sensors are able to communicate and exchange information with the centralized data acquisition system. This is a key feature of a smart sensor, which sets a platform to realize the other function in the smart sensor, such as remote configuration and calibration. Now, self-identification and description, basically. Upon power up, once you power up your sensor, the sensor is having an electronic data sheet. We call it a transducer electronic data sheet, which is being sent to our detection system, which contains a complete information and complete description of a particular sensor, like what is serial number, range, accuracy, resolution, sensitivity, linearity, repeatability when it got calibrated, and what is the due calibration. It's almost like an identification card carried by a person. So this, how the TEDs look like, a transducer data sheet, I have covered up in the coming slides, so that they'll give you a better insight about it. Now, self-diagnosis. So this is the most prominent and promising feature of a smart sensor, which are adored by any instrumentation and measurement engineers. In case any fault occurs in a sensor during the active operation, there is no need to send a maintenance person to the locate and diagnose the fault. The smart sensor will generate the warning alarm if it encounters any problem, any malfunctioning in subsystem. So they have, when you manufacture that sensor and when you have the complete knowledge of a measurement chain, they have set some identified some problem, like there may be change of your excitation, there may be change of your sensitivity, some other issues. So based on that, they have they have set some problems that are fault, and it will go and check all these faults, which are generally encountered frequently in any instrumentation chain. And based on that, it will carry out all the diagnosis and send that warning alarm and fault report, false report, exactly what went wrong. Then self-calibration. Now, the calibration is one of the most laborious and tedious part of any instrumentation activity, while installation of a complete measurement system setup. The self-calibration ability of a smart sensor has offered a big relief and advantage to our instrumentation engineer. The application processor of a smart sensor take care of this activity by periodically running the self-calibration application program for generating the calibration chart and sensitivity. So once it will do this calibration, it will say, yeah, calibration means, I'll cover up in the coming slides. Like for pressure sensor, we usually carry out shunt calibration, and it's like a simulation of load, basically. So So this shunt calibration they has implemented in a PT, pressure transducer, in the smart pressure sensors. Then self-data processing. This is one of the best feature of a smart sensor. That the smart sensor are well equipped with the capability to process the data in real time. You won't have to do that desktop processing once you acquire data. Real time itself will process the data. Self-processing usually deals with the filtering of noise, which is mathematical operation on input data to transform it into a form of a desired text. Like suppose you want graphic, numeric, which sort of pattern you want by a system user. And of course, smart sensors having some limitations also. Smart sensors are smart, having excellent attributes and warmly accepted in the automation industries. They have a following limitations also. Like customization is not possible. So embedded functions are defined at the initial state itself of the smart sensor with a limited register setting. So those are already set and you cannot go for customization. Then application spectrum is also narrow. So the number of types of embedded functions available are limited in that way. And circuit is a bit more complex. And because the production is in a limited number, hence they are a bit costly now. But once to go for a bulk production, it is expected that cost will going to be reduced. And if the bus wires fails, then the whole total system will shut down. Anyway, to counter this problem, they have now come up with that wireless transmission module also, so that you will have a backup. Suppose something goes wrong with your bus, then you can take the data through RF also. Like nowadays, they're using Zigbee on HART module, and somewhere I have heard about LoRa technology also. So in farming, they are using nowadays LoRa transceiver module. Now, the smart sensor architecture, basically, this IEEE 1451 has defined a smart sensor, what different system it should contain, carries. So it says, as you've seen this figure, it contains a network communication module, then application processor controller. That whole, this two becomes our network capable application processor. Then my signal conditioning and ADC unit. This whole, my signal conditioning unit, transducer, electron data sheet, and my transducer or sensor actuator maybe, that will become as a transducer interface module. Now, this is how what IEEE 1451 has mentioned. The architecture looks like this: that a network capable application processor, and by transducer interface module. I am going to cover up this one by one. Network capable application processor, basically, it contains a microcontroller or a processor, basically. Then this network capable application processor is a module that provides an interface between the transducer interface module and the network communication module. The NCAP usually contains a controller and interface to the broader network that may support other nodes. It performs data conversion function and application function. It also knows where the physical units are being measured and how to convert the raw reading into a corrected SI units. Basically, engineering conversion will be carried out in this unit itself. So an NCAP, that is network capable application processor, could be a 8-bit or 16-bit. Nowadays, at present, they are using 16-bit only. So for a device net control network, or a 32-bit processor also for an Ethernet-based control network. So it runs a control algorithm periodically, and if any, and alarm the conditions to them, if whatever it monitors, and monitor local the control loop, basically. So this NCAP is a unit, this module inside your smart sensor is responsible for smartness in a sensor. Now, transducer independent interface. The transducer independent interface define a set of communication protocol and communication medium for transferring my sensor information. This interface provides a set of information such as read, write, read and write messages, and read and write response, etc. So what should be a communication protocol, and what will be my data structure, and what will my handshake mode will be there. All has been defined in this this module. Then transducer, it's basically a software module of a smart sensor. Now, my transducer electronic data sheet. This carries the TED, basically in short form, TED. The TED is stored in a transducer interface module and is analog to my identification card iCard carried by a person. It contains manufacturer-related information like manufacturer identification, batch code, what will my measurement range, what is the calibration data sheet, and sensor details, accuracy, resolution, linearity. Everything will be carried out in this transducer data sheet. And the benefit of this transducer electronic data sheet is like empower the sensor with self-identification capability, provides long-term documentation, contain information about the location of sensors, other things, and they reduce the human error and ease in installation, maintenance, upgradation of sensor. Because of the TED, it's quite easy for a database system person who is operating my database system to gather the information and to fastly acquire the data also. This is the structure of my TED. This is basic TED. It contains my manufacturer ID, like, okay, 33 serial number basically, and my model number, what is the version letter, all those things, and like sensitivity, measurement range, and the user area, what is my sensor location. Suppose I have connected the nozzle end or head and where, and my calibration due date, like it has been calibrated on 29th September. Now, what is the next period? All those things will be covered or carried in my TED. From the element of my 1451 standard, it starts with IEEE 1451.0. So the primary goal of IEEE 1451.0 is to facilitate a data level interoperability when the sensors are interfaced in wired or wireless sensor network. This standard specifies the function common functionality, commands and transducer electronic data sheet for a smart sensor interface, which is independent of my physical media. Then IEEE 1451.1 standard. This standard defines the interface specification required for my smart sensor to work in a networking mode. Which whether I have to use CAN or I have to use which communication protocol, that will be defined, covered by this, that has been defined in this standard. So this 15.1 specifies a common object model which deals with the communication protocol, form and type between the smart sensor in a network. Now 14.15.2, this standard defines the interface specification for sensor to NC-AP interface and TEDs for point-to-point configuration. This standard supports serial interface like universal serial bus and UART. This standard is well suited for smart sensors sharing a common pair of wires when they are arrayed as a node. Now 14.15.3, this standard is employed for multi-drop sensor network, defining the interface specification for sensor to NC-AP interface and TEDs in a multi-drop communication protocol. Now 14.15.4, this standard defines a mixed mode interface specification for those sensors which are operating in a mixed mode communication protocol and transducer electronic data sheet. Now 14.51.5, this standard defines the transducer to NC-AP interface and TEDs for wireless sensor network. When I have to use Zigbee, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, based on that, it has been defined what will be my data structure. Then 14.15.6, this standard defines the transducer to NC-AP interface when smart sensor interface high-speed CAN open network. And 14.15.1.6 also specifies the mapping of CAN open dictionary, entries to the TEDs, and configuration parameter and diagnostic information. Now, IEEE 14.15.7, which is the last but not least, this standard defines the communication protocol interface between the RFID systems and sensors. Now, I'm going to discuss how this smart sensor impart accuracy and precision to my existing instrumentation setup. Now, this figure number 8, as you're saying, is one of a test bed called 60 test bed, where we measure that 6 degree of freedom of any propulsion system, basically a rocket motor, missile motor. And this rocket propulsion system, the static test, we call it static test because we arrest the movement of a rocket motor by some means, and then we fire the motor. When we fire the motor, combustion takes place inside that motor, and that combustion chamber, that the pressure and thrust is going to generate. So we have to measure those pressure and thrust and temperature outside of the cell to evaluate the performance indices of a motor. So here, one more in figure number 5, as you see, this is a small rocket motor, basically a thruster. And in that you can see the pressure sensor also what we have shown in the figure mounted over there. Now this is that figure number 10, basically pressure profile generated by in that static test. So this highlighted one marked with my dotted red line, pressure difference basically you can see, and that pressure difference hardly the order of 5 to 6 bar. If that you take two differences and based on the two pressure what generated, I have shown the performance indices. In that performance indices are my what is that pressure area, my C star. Basically, C star is one of the figure of merit of my any proportion system, and the thrust what generated like that in one what is marked in blue line, it's blue color. At maximum pressure generated is 120.74 kg per square centimeter, and my complete pressure, total pressure generated is 943.59 kSCA, and C star is measured in meter per second, that is 1363.50. Now, if you take the same value with the other sensor, it is coming 1401.41 meter per second C star. This is just example. So based on this two value, if you wanted to figure out what is my how my motor performance, this will give you a completely two different picture. So that's what I wanted to highlight. That suppose if my pressure sensor don't works properly, that can my analysis also may go wrong. I may not able to figure it out whether I have to use this motor or not. So now why it happened? How I have got a wrong value? So maybe that's figure number 11. This is a graph shown plotted between pressure generated and pressure and voltage. What are the pressure as an input measured by my sensor, and output the voltage what I've got. So ideal one will be my linear equation that form that y is equal to mx plus c, a complete linear line. In figure number 12, that what I've tried to show is that maybe due to some offset. Offset means suppose my excitation value have got changed. And figure number 13, which is showing some drift in my output. So that factor which is responsible is that first my change in excitation value, because I have calibrated my sensor in a fixed excitation value, suppose 10 volt. So based on that only I have calculated my sensitivity and fed it my rating system. Now suppose my excitation value changes. Once my excitation value changes, that whatever that engineering conversion I have fed in my rating system is no more valid now. So I am going to read something wrong. And then variation in my ambience condition and temperature variation and malfunction of other unit also one of the factor that leads to my wrong value. And then error in calibration and some offset voltage. So that may be one of the reason that why my output is not as what I'm expecting. There may be something error what someone has committed or some malfunction in my sensor itself. Now suppose if I have used a smart pressure sensor, this might have handled all those problems very smartly. Like it will check the excitation value and correct itself. If my excitation value is rather than 10 volt, it is 9 volt, it will do the reverse engineering. Based on 9 volt, it will correct my sensitivity also. If any offset is there, that smart sensor will nullify that offset also. And based on that, it will prepare a lookup table. Then it will carry out the load simulation. Load simulation means, actually, so I have shown in figure number 15. Basically, any pressure sensor or load cell, there's a diaphragm, and on the diaphragm they will bond strain gauges in a Wheatstone bridge configuration. So whenever my diaphragm measures some pressure, it will get that strain, and this strain will get transformed to my strain gauges, and my Wheatstone bridge will get disturbed, and I'll get a corresponding output. So usually to check whether this system sensor is working or not, we'll carry out shunt calibration manually. But in the smart pressure sensor, they have inbuilt this feature. Okay, it can carry out this 5-point load simulation calibration. You'll find out, okay, whatever that sensitivity it has fed based on my excitation value, I'm getting the proper value or not. Output is expected, what I'm expecting. Then it will compare that, map the calibration chart, what it was having earlier and what it has formed in a lookup table. Based on my shunt calibration, then after comparing, it will use a new calibration chart for engineering conversion. So though due to some factor, maybe exchange excitation value or ambient condition or some drift, it will check, it will carry out the shunt calibration. Based on that, it will again find out what should be my exact engineering value, will feed itself. And now when it you carry out the test, it will give me a proper data. Now, smart sensor application. Nowadays, if you see my motion detector sensor, which are now connected with my tube light or bulb. Once suppose nobody is there, automatically switch off. If someone enters, as shown in figure 2, automatically switch it on. So it will detect the motion as well as it will switch on my light also. So basically, such sort of sensor being employed in my home automation. And blood glucose monitor at Dexcom G6 company, they have a device that watch. You have to just wear this watch. It will keep monitoring your blood sugar level in your body. And based on that, it will send a data to your centralized node where your doctor will continuously keeps on monitoring. Apart from that, they have, it is under progress right now in IIT Bombay. In this watch itself, they are having one micro needles implemented with that one, containing that insulin also. So based on that, suppose my blood sugar level increase or decrease, it will, suppose it decrease, it will pump that insulin also. Right now, this insulation delivery non-invasive method also is under progress. It's under trial, not has been finalized yet. Now, temperature sensing module are there, smart, which will detect that what is my body temperature. And suppose in this ring, as I have shown in this figure, you have to simply wear this ring. It will give the temperature of that human body. As well as watches are also available, smart watches, which will give that temperature reading of our human body. The smart footwear. So like for athlete, basically, to analysis how to improve up one's performance, they have developed this textile pressure sensors, the smart footwear. So each smart socks is basically infused with 3 thin soft textile pressure sensor and a magnetic Bluetooth smart electronic anklet that snaps onto each smart socks, collect data and transmit it wirelessly to mobile app. So Sensure is a company which has developed it smart footwear, and almost they are already using some of the athlete, and that so that you can improve your running and performance also. So that is the whole objective to develop this smart footwear. A smart sense chair also are there in the market, so that they will give you a correct posture. If you sit, how a person sits, it will analyze that and it will tell exactly what should be your posture while sitting in front of computer or other thing, so that you will not face any other problem, health-related issue. And smart pressure sensor and smart proximity sensor are also there in the market. And a lot of research is going on to improve the overall system reliability and accuracy. And smart dust is also in the pipeline. So that just you have to sprinkle this smart dust. Like basically, this, they are developing it for defense purpose, to monitor and surveillance purpose. They have to just sprinkle this smart dust. So what activity is going on, they can just acquire all those data and give it to your surveillance system. And references, I have taken this 2 papers, one from Instrumentation and Measurement magazine, published in 2008, and one more from, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek, for your nice presentation. Abhishek had done a lot of work in the instrumentation, as I told in the beginning. He has got practical experience, and if you see, he has given the example of rocket motor. Rocket motor is the one which is a single shot device. Once if you fire, you cannot get it back. You have to find another rocket only. In case of motor, if it is there, if motor is not running properly, we can stop it and we can identify the problem and rectify it, and again we can redo the experiment. But in case of rocket motor, it's not possible. So this plays a very, very important role. The measurement plays a very, very important role in testing rocket motors. And we keep on doing at DRDL. They keep on doing regular experiments in testing the rocket motor. Only when they get satisfied, then only it will be integrated with the missile and missile will be fired. Otherwise, there is no second chance. So now the session is open for the question answers.
Hello. Sir, is it audible?
Yeah, audible. Please
Yes,
go
is
ahead.
it audible?
Sir, in industrial control systems, generally these sensors will be connected to through a PLC, programmable logic controller, and it will be connected to a SCADA system or any data acquisition system.
Yeah.
So at present in industry we are using this one. So if these smart sensors, if you take a pressure transmitter, if the smart sensor, if we are using, can we, will it be replace this PLC, sir? Directly can be connected to a SCADA system through a suitable communication protocol. Earlier it may be Profinet, Profibus, it will be connected, field bus, it will be connected to the PLC. So will it be eliminated the PLC?
It depends on application. Suppose, not only that, suppose you're using noisy environment where that voltage, if you work on a 5 volt or 6 volt, not going to work. So PLC basically used in where you need a very robust system. You when going to encounter some noise, vibration, other things also. It is replaceable, but it depends what are my atmospheric condition, what are my environmental condition over there. So in PLC base also, they have set some communication protocol also. They maybe require some modification, but yeah, it's possible.
And this
what
smart
sort of parameter you're measuring?
Sorry?
What sort of parameter, which parameter you are measuring over there? Pressure, temperature?
We are using for oil and pipeline gas lines where we are using pressure, temperature, flow, density, all these parameters.
Okay, yeah. It's very much possible. Nowadays, standalone smart sensors also come into picture, which are having a wireless transceiver. So that once you will, it will eliminate the need of a PLC also. So that once I have fixed that sensor, smart sensor like pressure or temperature to monitor, you have to just fix that location where you wanted to measure the respective physical parameters. And at that data system, you can gather all the data.
So these sensors, through which communication protocol, sir? It will communicate to a data acquisition system generally?
It is having IEEE 802.15 also is available, 0.14 also is available, and they have defined it's up if you are going wireless, which module protocol you're using, Zigbee or Bluetooth, or which one? Based on that, you have to go for that communication protocol.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
I have one small explanation. This PLC you may be using not only for data acquisition, but you may be using it for process control also. That you have to keep in mind.
Yes, sir.
For process control, how are you going to do? That may be a separate system may be required.
Yes, yeah. We are using various control logics like pump control logic, those things.
Yeah, so that needs to be taken care of.
Yes.
Sir, any other questions? Sir, Venkateshwar Garu, you had raised hand in between when the session was in progress. I think I could not. Please go ahead, sir.
Hello. It is not with the lecture. I would like to pay homage to my professor. Can I do?
Yeah, sure.
Please go ahead,
sir. Actually, I know Professor Alladi Prabhakar sir since the year he joined, that is in 1964. I was in pre-final of my BE. And casually, I went to the library. He was there in the library with wounds and with some bandage hung to his neck. And with always he used to be with the suit, black suit. And he had very thick hair with the sideburns. After seeing him, I went to library and मैं बोला को ये शख्स कौन है रेज़लर का जैसा दिख रहा है in Urdu I asked him ये शख्स कौन है रेज़लर का जैसा दिख रहे हैं then he said साहब आपका प्रोफेसर को अपना ही जानते क्या I said I do not know, he is not aware, I have not seen him. Actually in 1963 EC department started ME control engineering. So at that time, there was no professor of control engineering, only Professor Alladi Prabhakar, who used to handle electrical engineering and ECE. So when professor was required, he was taken. So he was teaching to ME. And when I came to final year, he started teaching servo mechanism. So from that day till he was alive, I was in touch with him. He was knowing me with my name. And first of all, I would like to convey my salute, pranams to Madam Mrs. Alladi Prabhakar. Amma, mi padalaki na namaskaram. I met you in 1968 when you were in the house of Justice Kuppuswamy. There I came with my wife and my child. And when sir was not well, some 16 years was, regularly I used to visit your house at Urdu Hall, and you were inquiring about my son. Now he is above 54. I have crossed 80. Madam, again, mi padalakana namaskaram. Very regularly I used to visit your house. So he was a nice professor, quite encouraging, and of course he was a professor, and he was the director of Manipal Institute of Technology, where I also met him and met. So of course he was quite an encouraging person. You can understand, in 1968 I could go to his house and meet him along with my family. Those were the days how we students used to meet professors. So he was a great personality, and he was our chief patron. Our Old Students Association chief patron. So in that connection, I was having a touch with him till he was alive. So I would like to just pay my homage to him, and my pranams to his wife, and my best wishes to his two daughters who also know me. But thank you.
Very good, sir. Very, very nice, sir. Very, very nice.
Thank you for sharing your this one, sir. You had become very emotional. From that itself, we can understand that how good the professor was. Really, it is heart touching. Sir, Venkateshwarlu garu, you can.
Sir, good morning to all. I have a small memory with Professor Alladi Prabhakar, sir. I worked in Manipal Institute of Technology.
Sir, voice. Voice, sir, voice.
We are not getting voice, sir.
Hello?
Now it's okay. Now it's okay.
Sir, good morning, sir. I have a small memory with Professor Alladi Prabhakar, sir, when he worked as principal in MIT, Manipal. I worked as faculty there, and we used to have interaction with sir, and quite amazing personality, as Virubhadra Rao sir was telling. He looks very simple, but very intelligent questions he used to put in seminars and webinars. When we also used to surprise, he was looking like just normally closing eyes and sleeping like. But when he puts question and other side, it will be used to be very tough to answer. And like that, he used to, we used to have a campus there, temples and all. He used to come regularly with family. We used to meet him. It was really a great personality, sir. We are fortunate to have his services. Even when I am now in Hyderabad, the Naranama Institute of Technology, we called him for a conference guest speaker, and he came, though his health wasn't supporting, but he came. So it's a 200% commitment to his life and career for the academics, sir. I really salute the family of sirs, madams, and pranams to madams and children, family of sir. And I thank you so much for having a memorial lecture like this on his name since long. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I think one is Narasimha wants to talk.
Sir, good morning, sir. Good morning to you all, sir. I have a small query, sir. All these smart sensors, are they radiation resistant, sir?
Yeah, they have to fulfill some IEEE, one clause 461B. They have to comply with that one. So all QC certificate they have to provide for delivery.
Thank you.
Because anything, whatever you are manufacturing, it has to do some certain number of tests, and based on that, it's certified, and then only you can put it in the market.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sir, anybody from his family members would like to say something? From his family, Alladi family members.
I'm Janaki, the eldest daughter of Alladi Prabhakar. I was asked to talk at that time just 15 minutes. As I said, I couldn't prepare or talk immediately, but I just want to thank all of you for this wonderful lecture that you have arranged, and this keeps the memory of my father keeps going on and on. Every year you have been doing this program, and I'm very, very happy to be part of this wonderful session. And Dad was very dedicated in his work, yes, and he was, for him, students meant the world to him. Most of the time, he was always talking about his students, and many of them, he used to counsel them in those days that they should go abroad also. And even when he went there abroad, he used to meet a lot of his students there who used to come and take him around. So he was totally connected with the student world. That we know very well, he wanted the family also to be part of, when we went to OU or IETE, he would like us all to come with him for every lecture, for everything. He would like us to be there. So my mother, my sister, and myself, we used to always, and my husband also, we always used to attend every lecture, and we come to know all the faculty members, everybody there. And that is the involvement Dad used to want us to have, that experience. So thank you all very much for the opportunity that you have all given me. Last year, my son spoke so well. Eldest son Anand spoke so well because he's an engineering student. He spoke very well about my dad. This year he's laid up with COVID. He's in America, and the time also is very late for him according to the American timing. So he's unable to talk. Otherwise, he would have done more justice than what I am talking right now. Just wanted to say just few words. That's all. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam.
Just as a family member, I would like to assure that we will support this great institution in whichever way we can to make sure that there is good. I mean, this institution will improve and be good to the people who are here, especially for the electronic and communication facility. So I'll definitely we'll do our best to support you in this institution. Thank you.
I agree with him totally, and we are totally into this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sir, anybody has got any more questions or anyone? Sitaram Babuji, would you like to say something?
No, I mean, I really. Thank you.
So now, if no more questions, I request Sri Ramarao Garu to deliver a vote of thanks.
Thank you.
Incidentally, today we are missing Bhatia. I don't know why Bhatia has not joined. Please go ahead, sir.
My proud privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this very solemn and very memorable occasion. It is the memorial lecture in honor of a great professor, a great scientist, engineer, and academic, Professor Alladi Prabhakar. IETE fraternity is always proud of having him as a comrade in the IETE community. And the memorial lecture today especially took a humanistic angle also, because the family members of Dr. Prabhakar have participated in such a large measure, particularly his daughter, Mrs. Janaki, who also spoke on the occasion. And I am delighted to see that Mrs. Janaki's facial resemblance to Professor Prabhakar is so striking. I met Professor Prabhakar only a couple of times in some seminars and all. I don't have any personal interaction with him, but having seen him that time and now this is the resemblance is rather striking, and that is a very delightful feature and adds to the and it is very touching too. Equally touching is the fact that two of his former colleagues and students, Dr. K. Veerabhadra Rao of Osmania University and Mr. Ishito Manipal, they too have chosen to speak on that issue and recall their memories, their fond memories of Dr. Prabhakar. That shows Dr. Prabhakar is a personality who is not only a great scientist engineer himself, but a great
humanist. Sir Ramagaru, I think your voice we are not able to hear. I request others to mute their mic.
Am I audible now? Am I audible, please?
Now it's okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, yes.
I just would like to underline the fact that Professor Prabhakar is remembered often not only as a scientist engineer, but as a great humanist and a great human being, very attached to his colleagues, his students, and the profession of this electronics and telecommunication engineering as a whole. So it's a great occasion. And my thanks go to Mr. Abhishek Sakia, who delivered the keynote address on this occasion. And Mr. Sakia chose to speak on the smart sensors. And the topic is so well presented. Particularly, I am tempted to speak and on the fact that the slides that he has prepared are so well designed. I mean, very pleasing, very aesthetic, good color combinations, very easy to read, very easy to decipher the graphs and all. And what is more, they are devoid of unnecessary razzle-dazzle animations and all that, which people tend to often overdo in slides presentation. Some of his lecture, in fact, somewhere towards the concluding part of his lecture, he devoted considerable time about the IEEE standards of smart sensors. I am delighted to say that if the IEEE established any standards for sensors for slides making, Abhishek's slides will win the standards hands down. So that is the good thing about the slides. They are self-contained and very easy to understand. And it can be a kind of other speakers have to really emulate his example in slides making. And the topic itself is very interesting, and many students have participated. In fact, I have been watching the screen, and the number of participants have hovered around 80 to 70. In between, it was hovering, and so it's a good number. And the fact that quite a few of them have participated actively in the question answer session that followed also shows there is a lot of active participation in the participants. They are not just passively absorbing the lecture, but they are actively participating. It's indeed a very well conducted seminar, and in this connection, Dr. Sitaram Babu, the father of these webinar series, I must say, he is no longer in the EC now, but he has gone to the GC as a GC member. But still, he continues to be with us, and that shows his attachment to the Hyderabad Center, and particularly the webinar series. So, thanks a lot, Sitaram Babu Garu. I hope your continued support will be there for the center and the series. I should, of course, thank the chairman and secretary of the center, who are the spirit behind the activities of the center. I must again repeat what I have been telling on earlier occasions. that ever since they took over, the Hyderabad Center has received a new lease of life. Virtually came out from the ashes like a phoenix out of fire. They have revived the center remarkably well. And the fact that we are able to conduct this weekly series of lectures without any break, apart from other activities, of course, is something which the rest of the IIT centers are just wondering how so much of activity is possible, and that too starting from zero. Because in the previous years, the activities of the center have gone to a virtual zero state, and from that zero state, they have revived the center, and now the center has received this certificate of excellence as the best center award among the centers. That is something which is remarkable, and I hope this trend and this tempo will be maintained. Thanks once again to all the members, the Alladi Sri Prabhakar's family members, and thank you all.
Madam Janaki Garu, namaskaralu. Kindly convey my pronouns to your mother.
So thank you all of you. Thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you, sir.
Good presentation.
My mother is very happy to witness this occasion on Zoom.
Yeah, that's my sister talking.
Yeah, nice.